Aristotle once said, "Man is a social animal." This is a reality. If you find yourself alone somewhere with no human contact at all, you will start going crazy real quick. This video tells the story of a man who finds himself trapped in a vault, but then he meets a woman, how that woman plays a big role in keeping him alive. Watch the video and find out. Welcome to Movie Recall. In today's video, we'll be going through the 2010 thriller film Iron Doors. It's time to recall. Let's get started. Turn on subtitles and spoilers ahead. The movie starts with a man who is well dressed waking up after a fly tickles his cheek. It seems like the man has a bad headache. He gets to his senses and the first thing he sees is a dead rat lying beside him and the flies are feeding on the rat. The man gets startled and realizes that he's been trapped in a vault, a cupboard, and an iron door can be seen in the vault. This place is absolutely disgusting. There are a lot of flies buzzing around, and looking at the light in the room, we see many dead ones. The man first thinks that he's been pranked, so he tries to act cool. He suspects it's the doing of one of his colleagues named Fletcher. He says to himself that as soon as he gets out of there, he is going to fire his assistant. He looks at his watch and it is 9:32 in the morning. The man realizes that there is no activity outside the door. He then tries to make a call but finds no signals. He walks around the room to get any signals but to no avail. He then looks for hidden cameras in there but finds nothing. The man starts getting frustrated. He even has to pee now. Well, he goes into a corner and mockingly relieves himself. However, this is going to bite him in the back going forward. He then starts knocking on the iron door but gets no response from the outside. He's highly frustrated now. He takes off his belt and starts knocking on the door with the belt buckle to make it noisier. He then takes out his wrath on the locker in the room. Trying to rip it apart, he verbally abuses the locker. He even manages to get on top of it and tries to see what is around him from the top. Then we see it as day 2. The scene around the room is even more disgusting as we see maggots feeding on the dead rat. The man wakes up and his phone drops. He looks at his phone and sees if it is catching any signals, but no luck. The phone is as useless as every other thing in this room. This is when he realizes that he is extremely thirsty. He goes over to the corner where he urinated yesterday and manages to collect some urine in his shoe and drinks it. Being alone in the room starts to affect him mentally. He starts acting a little crazy, literally slapping the overhead fluorescent light. This is when he notices that there is a key in there. He manages to get the light down and gets his hands on the key. He thinks that this is the key to the locker. He goes to the locker, but as he's about to open it, he hesitates, thinking there could be something scary or dangerous in there. However, he finally opens it and finds 2 canisters of gas and a blowtorch. We also see goggles, a hammer, and a chisel as well. The man starts setting up the equipment. Looking at him, it is evident that he does not really know his way around these things. The man tries to open the iron door by hitting it with the hammer and chisel, but the door says not so easy. He then fires the blowtorch and takes it closer to the sprinkler system in hopes of getting some water, but again, no luck. He starts goofing around with the blowtorch. He tries to do something to the big door with the blowtorch. He then sees if the door is any weaker. Not at all. The door is not at all moved, not even a dent. He gets frustrated again, shouting and verbally and physically abusing the room and everything inside it. He then starts kicking the door, but of course it's not moved. The man is now tired and he sits with his back to the wall and starts talking to himself like a crazy person. As he's talking to himself, he notices a point on the wall which has a little mark on it. You can even call it a small hole. He gets his hammer and the chisel and starts banging this part of the wall. While he's doing that, a chip flies right into his eye and he curses. However, he continues. He finally reaches a dent in the wall. The man is now exhausted. He seems done. He's extremely hungry. Well, there's only one thing that can be eaten. The rat? Oh, he seems to prefer the maggots. He picks one of them up and eats it. Then he picks up a handful and eats them all. He almost pukes but manages to keep it together. He gets back at the wall and starts digging again. The hole now looks bigger and he can even see the steel bars now. The man uses the welding gun to cut off the steel bars. A ray of light finally starts to come into the room and it gives the man some energy. He keeps digging. He has dug a hole now big enough for him to go through it. He manages to go through the hole and, to his horror, he finds out he has just landed in a vault just like the one he's been trapped in. He loses it. He seems broken as he finds out that his efforts have been in vain. He starts shouting and starts banging on the iron door, taking out his frustration. When he's tired of hitting the door, he finally tries to compose himself again and goes on to inspect the second vault. There he sees a lamp and a coffin. He's a little frightened to see a coffin in there. He manages to find the courage to open the coffin. Upon opening it, he is shocked to see a girl sleeping in there. The girl wakes up and starts shouting, thinking that the man wants to kill her. She tries to get away from him and goes through the hole that he has just dug. The man tries to explain the whole situation, but she's not ready to listen or believe him for that matter. The man says, "Alright, if you don't want to believe me, okay." He goes to her side, puts out the light, and goes to sleep in the coffin she was sleeping in. Now we're into day 3. The man is sleeping in the woman's coffin, and the girl climbs through the hole and tries to get rid of the dead rat lying on the floor. She then wakes up the man and suggests he start to work on the wall. The man looks too exhausted to do anything, and blowing hammers on a chisel is, some heavy work. However, the girl decided to help him out. She holds the chisel, and as the man is about to strike the first blow, the girl takes her hands away to avoid the blow. Turns out the girl is afraid of having a broken hand. Well, there's a solution to that. The man now holds the chisel, and the girl has the hammer in her hand. She blows on the chisel well, it's not a blow. It seems like she's tapping the chisel with a hammer. They hardly leave a mark on the wall. The man starts laughing as he points at the mark that has been left on the wall. The man then sits away as the girl still continues with the hammer and chisel. She ends up hurting herself, and now she has to pee as well. Well, she's not going to do it in front of the man, so she climbs into the other vault for privacy. The man follows her, and she thinks that he is a threat and wants to take advantage of her. She picks up a sharp piece in order to defend herself, and this is when he explains to her the whole process of recycling. It all comes down to him explaining that he wants her to pee in his shoe so they can, later on, drink it up when they get dehydrated. The woman is reluctant to do that. She says she is not going to pee in his shoes, but the man tries to convince her by bringing up some valid points, saying that he might die of hydration, and if he dies, she will be all alone there, and how is she going to break out of there when she cannot even use a hammer and a chisel? The woman finally seems to be a little convinced after a whole speech from the man. She finally asks him to turn around, and he does. She pees into the shoe and hands it to him. The man starts drinking up. He then leaves some for her and asks her to drink. She has no choice, so she drinks. Now it's time to get something to eat. This is when those maggots come to mind, and the man eats one of them in front of the girl, who almost throws up at the sight. Now they're back to the girl's vault. The man starts working on digging the hole while the woman starts crying, saying things like she might be getting punished for something she did in the past. Well, apparently both of them are. The man starts singing in order to get her mind off of it, and she finally cracks a smile at him. The man continues singing and chiseling for a while, and the girl seems to cheer up. Well, you can't keep that up for too long in a condition the man currently is, so he stops. This is when the girl takes her turn, and now she starts singing. The girl actually has a nice voice as she tunes with the movements of his hammer and chisel. This goes on for a while. The two are having a nice time until the man hits his finger with the hammer and it starts to bleed. The girl quickly tears a piece of cloth from her head tie and wraps it around his finger. The man, however, does not stop. He then holds the chisel and asks the woman to strike with the hammer. As the woman hits, the lock of the iron door, which is on the opposite side to them, begins to rotate. They run toward the door, but the lock rotates back, getting back to its original position. They make several attempts and finally figure out why the locker rotates back to its original place. The man finds out that as long as they have their backs to the door, the locker will rotate toward the unlocking door. Then they slowly walk backwards towards the door, and when they get close to the door, it is open, but they find yet another room. This is the third similar room, however, it has different stuff. They see an empty grave with a tombstone and a similar iron door. The woman right away goes to her vault and gets the equipment they need to work with. They try to use the same method to get the iron door opened, but to no avail. That method does not work on this iron door. They do nothing but only dig the grave, wishing to make a new tunnel in it. However, the man seems to be in a really bad condition now. The man tries to dig up but collapses and ends up giving up. The woman tries to console and encourage the man. He finally figures out what their captor wants. He wants them to kill each other. This is why they have a grave there. He points the chisel at the woman but does not go through with it, ending up screaming in frustration. He even throws himself into the grave and starts crying. The man is now so weak that he cannot even lift his own arm. The woman tries to motivate him, but he's done. She even tries kicking and slapping, but the man does not budge. The woman manages to get him to the edge of the grave and lays him down properly. She then starts shouting at the iron door and hopes to get a response, but ends up crying. This is when another idea strikes her. How about feeding the man with her tears? Well, the man recovers enough to brush the girl's chest with his hand. Their heart starts pounding. They may be having their last few hours alive. The woman starts to be intimate with him to keep him alive. Despite being exhausted, he is up for the company of a woman. The girl starts to take off her clothes. The man starts to feel some life through her gentle comfort. It turns out the man is still capable of other things than just crawling around. The girl is able to arouse him from a near-death condition. They do it in the middle of the vault. After a session of lovemaking, the two go to sleep. The man wakes up and finds out the girl curled around with him. He gets up and goes to the other vault. He tears off a piece of velvet lining from the coffin. Well, now he's made himself kind of a shawl with which he covers the woman. The man is now really weak due to having nothing to eat for days. He starts to faint yet again. While he is dazing, he hears the sound of the lock rotating. He gets some energy as he hears the moving lock. He wakes up the girl and they remember what they did when it happened the last time. The two turn their backs towards the iron door to get closer to the door. The man has been doing continuous labor without having anything proper to eat. He is so weak that he cannot even walk on his own. The girl helps him out as he stumbles to the iron door. The door finally opens. Luckily for them, this is not yet another vault. As the door opens, it gets bright out there and an entirely different scene comes into view. We see that the world outside this iron door is as beautiful as heaven. They see waterfalls, birds, and flowers everywhere. They're relieved to see this, giving each other a smile as they walk toward the beautiful outside world. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe and click the bell icon to get new movie recaps.